Do you live in the place where you grew up? Or have you lived in many places? Where is home? Where are you at peace? I've moved so many times that for a while we used to keep our kitchen things in plastic boxes inside the cupboards to make it easier to pack and move. And when I think about moving, I lose any sense of peace. What makes home? What makes a sense of peace? Is it when we're with particular people or a particular place? Is it the memories of people in a place? Living overseas, if I was asked where was home, I might sometimes say, oh, the 18e, the 18th district in Paris. But if the question was, where are you really home? I might say Sydney. We sometimes use the expression, home is where the heart is, or where we can feel safest. For those in exile, home was the site of the demolished and destroyed temple. So many of the stories of faith and spiritual identity are associated with being away from home and trying to find safety. Around the world, church people have had to be away, absent from the shared spiritual home of church sites. Around the globe, the great COVID superspreader events have been associated with worship communities who thought they were doing well and observing best practice. So we have erred on the side of caution and stayed together from home. We've got used to seeing each other's faces, albeit on screens. Being together from home has meant we could experiment with music and film and images, and it's also meant the absence of some things we value deeply. At Eastwood, we've missed being welcomed by Robert and Owen and speaking with friends in informal greetings. Different things will become possible in future weeks, but wherever we are, the Uniting Church is working to make sure there are safe options for the most vulnerable. Having someone who greets you, who knows your name, who smiles and encourages, is so important for inclusion and hospitality. We started earlier in the year to emphasise name tags, and the photo board had some profiles, and same on our website, so newcomers would be able to learn names. Now we need to start all over again. If you say, but everyone knows my name, you're saying that we don't really care about someone new or visiting. Names are important, and one of the advantages of Zoom has been able to connect names with faces. When we're in person, we need to make more effort to welcome the stranger. Our Bible reading this morning has the naming of Elizabeth and Zechariah's son. Zechariah's had a strange experience and is mute, unable to speak out. When Elizabeth said he was to be named John, the neighbours were shocked, perhaps even outraged. Surely he would be called Junior, then Zechariah, as was the habit of generations and generations of Jews. Who was this Elizabeth to change the way things had always been done? Well, she called him John. The people argued. They turned to Zechariah. He should overrule her. But Zechariah knew he and his wife had been given a miracle child in their old age. The child was not a continuation of past traditions. This child was the herald for a new future. Zechariah called for a tablet and confirmed the new child would be called John. From that moment, Zechariah was able to speak again. He was committed to the future, not the past. He had demonstrated his faith by receiving God's chosen name as the legacy for his family. Throughout the centuries since then, we have remembered Zechariah's willingness to put his own name aside for the sake of God's future plans. It is his son who will proclaim and prepare the way of the Lord. John the Baptizer will become one of the most honoured characters in the Gospels. Elizabeth leads the way, Zechariah backs her up, John fulfills the plan. The change is established. Since starting at Eastwood earlier this year, I've longed to encourage music making and teach songs and start a choir. When we do regather, singing can only safely happen outdoors, not indoors. So now we've prepared some safe outdoor spaces, I can begin to imagine new ways forward to do some music. So much of my faith has come through singing. When I finished school and conservatorium, I headed off to London and Paris to sing. For much of the year, I would sing with companies, Haydn's Creation or Mozart concerts in German, Berlioz's Fauré and Massenet in French, Caccini and Vivaldi in Italian or Latin. But December was a special month, for in December I got to sing in English. It always included Handel's Messiah. Christmas for me is told in the verses set to music by Handel. When I hear the words from those passages, I hear music. I hear singing evangelists and angels and orchestras. The proclamation of the gospel comes to me in song. But how can we sing in this strange land? It's been a couple of years of sadness and confrontation, of adaptation and loneliness. I don't know about you, but sometimes, like the mute Zechariah, I've found myself in the wilderness unable to share my voice. Isolation has felt like a withering of life. Many of us kept busy or tried to find opportunities to live positively, but we should not undersell how difficult that has been. We've all faced obstacles to experiencing blossoming in the grace and blessing of God. Even now we struggle to find ways to sing. Do you remember the bushfires of late 2019? The skies were orange and grey, not for days but weeks. Things felt apocalyptic. The world was turning upside down and the fabric between earth and heaven was thin. We now know that COVID was emerging, ready to plunge the world into crisis. Today, life and death and well-being are not taken for granted, as perhaps they once were. Attitudes have changed. We're being made ready for the voice in the wilderness to proclaim the love of God. Even when we have been distant, the love of God can come close. The aria I learnt from the Messiah, first of all, was this one, sung here in a duet with Claire Wright. In it are verses featured at both funerals and Christmas. He shall feed his flock like a shepherd, and come unto me, all who are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. The verses remind us to look for those who need comfort and peace, and remind us to seek comfort and peace. They are words of care and shepherding from a God who loves us deeply and longs for us to turn to God. Today, the scriptures are a message of peace from God.
Feed his flock like a shepherd.
We cannot magically go back to pre-COVID times, but we can hear each other's longings. We should grieve together what has been lost, but my focus as a minister is to support you in moving into the future. My job, like every minister in this con-COVID period, is all about managing change. We probably all hoped that change could be about enthusiasm and invigoration. Instead, we find ourselves in a period where change is learning to do church differently. The period of societal change also provides us, though, with incredible opportunities. As we begin to transition out of the restrictions of lockdowns, we will have to make choices about the future. We will need to choose to go forward rather than trying to revert to a past that has already gone. The community you hope to engage with are online. They speak several languages. They're not going to engage with the church of our past. So we will need to learn to be the church community of the future. Our church leadership team and office exist to help you to do that. Together, we will be beginning to feel more at home using the website. Together, we will begin to use our outdoor spaces more effectively. Together, we will encourage people to find peace in our church home in a range of smaller group gatherings, both in person and online. So peace be with you and in your home. Amen.